Above the Pacific Ocean, a superstorm turns the sea into a vast field of power. Deeper inside the Pacific Reef, the storm turns the coral world into a fortress of survival.
From above, the storm appears almost alive, shaping the surface of the ocean with relentless force. For the smallest fish, every coral branch becomes a wall against the moving sea. At the surface of the Pacific, wind, rain, and waves merge into one moving body. Yet beneath this chaos, another world is waiting in the sea below.
The storm reaches the bottom as moving sand, and the seafloor becomes a place of constant change.
The superstorm rules the surface, but the ocean beneath it is beginning to respond. To understand this storm, we must follow it below the waves.
When the Pacific grows restless, the strongest shelter is often found beneath the reef itself.
Below the storm, the sea is still restless, filled with noise, motion, and pressure.
The same storm that threatens the reef also sends food through its hidden corridors.
The superstorm above reshapes the first layers of the ocean, stirring everything in its reach. Inside the storm-dark reef, the old balance of hunter and hidden prey continues. Even before the reef appears, life in the Pacific Ocean is already adapting to the force above. Beneath the raging surface, the hidden life of the Pacific is just beginning to come into view. This reef is not only surviving the Pacific storm, it is using every shape, shelter, and current to stay alive. Farther below the storm, the Pacific begins to reveal the lives that endure beneath the violence above. Within the coral, the smallest spaces become the strongest protection. The reef is not a single shelter, but thousands of shelters joined together by the sea. The ocean floor is not untouched by the storm. It feels the force as current, pressure, and shifting light. When the storm presses down from above, even the smallest fish know where safety begins. Some fish survive the moving water by holding still in the right place. Every surge from above sends another signal through the reef. The reef becomes a fortress, and every crevice in the sea becomes a refuge.
On the seafloor, survival can mean staying low, staying still, and letting the storm pass overhead.
In the sand, the storm turns every open doorway into a risk. Beneath the superstorm, even sight becomes uncertain. Each species answers the storm in its own way, anchoring, hiding, or yielding to the current. The storm can be felt as a rhythm in the water, and the reef responds to every shift. Not every survivor moves quickly. Some endure by holding their place.
Even in the middle of a superstorm, the ocean still contains places of relative calm.
Even fragile forms can become shelter when the ocean begins to move with force.
Some creatures do not flee the storm. They wait inside the reef and let the sea bring the world to them.
Behind the moving coral, the reef hides quiet rooms for those small enough to enter. Below the storming Pacific, a hidden world is already adapting, enduring, and waiting for the next surge from above. The coral reef beneath the Pacific storm is a maze of pressure, shelter, and living response.
Beneath the Pacific storm, The reef becomes a shelter shaped by pressure, current, and instinct.
Inside this reef maze, every creature depends on the shape of the ocean around it.
When the water grows stronger, the reef becomes a shelter of narrow spaces.
Every branch of coral becomes a narrow refuge when the ocean above is in chaos.
The reef wall becomes a living shield against the restless sea.
In rough water, even a short crossing becomes a decision. On the seafloor, the safest creature may be the one that almost disappears. The storm changes the seafloor, but some lives survive by becoming almost invisible. Under the storm, every open crossing becomes a test of timing. For some creatures beneath the waves, stillness is the strongest defense. The hidden animals of the reef survive the storm by holding to the ocean's strongest edges. The storm turns the coral chamber into both a hiding place and a feeding ground. The reef does not fight every force. It bends, absorbs, and waits.
Even during the storm, the small services of the reef continue in hidden corners.
Even a storm can carry food through the sea, turning danger into opportunity. The storm changes the water, but the ancient balance of the reef remains. In the shelter of the reef, hunters and hunted share the same storm. Every shelter in the reef belongs to a larger system of pressure, hunger, and protection.
Below the superstorm, the Pacific is not silent. It is a living world responding to pressure from above.
The reef has become a living refuge, but the Pacific storm is still pushing deeper through the sea.
The Pacific storm is still reaching downward, turning every coral corridor into a test of survival. The storm above continues to press into the sea, and every hidden life below must answer. Inside the reef, the smallest spaces become the safest rooms in the ocean. In the smallest openings of the ocean floor, survival is measured in seconds. Tiny creatures beneath the waves read the current through touch before they dare to move. The reef is built from countless hiding places, each one shaped by the sea. Beneath the storm, the ocean floor opens and closes like a restless, hidden world. When the water changes, cooperation becomes another form of shelter. The young lives of the reef gather tightly when the sea becomes unpredictable. When the sea becomes unstable, even the smallest partnership must work faster. The reef holds many kinds of strength, from gripping arms to hidden claws.
Some creatures survive the storm by becoming part of the reef itself.
In rough water, disguise is not only a trick, it is a way to endure. The storm turns danger into food, but only for those quick enough to risk the open sea. Even the moving corals become shelter when the storm pushes through the sea. In the storm-dark reef, camouflage becomes a silent form of patience. The storm changes the rhythm of the reef, but the ancient tension between hunter and hidden prey remains. The reef guides them through the storm, one protected passage at a time. Beneath the Pacific Superstorm, every hidden creature becomes part of one living response. Beneath the Pacific Superstorm, the coral reef survives as one connected refuge of movement, pressure, and life. Below the Pacific Superstorm, the sea becomes a test of shelter, instinct, and endurance. Inside the reef, survival is shared by every creature that can find shelter from the moving sea. In unstable water, moving together becomes the safest shape in the ocean.
The storm makes the open water dangerous, and the reef answers with hidden rooms.
What looks like a wall is really a crowded world holding itself against the current. The storm changes the water, and every fish answers with motion. For larger animals, the same current that threatens the small can become a path through the sea. On the storm-dark seafloor, hiding can mean becoming part of the sand. The ocean covers some lives so completely that survival becomes almost invisible. Near the seafloor, survival depends less on speed and more on holding ground. Even larger, calmer lives of the Pacific choose shelter when the sea above becomes violent. Beneath the ledge, many small lives wait together while the storm moves above them. The storm carries food through the reef, but every meal must be taken between pulses of danger. The storm brings danger, but it also carries food through the hidden corridors of the sea. In the shadowed reef, the octopus survives by reading the sea through touch. Every opportunity beneath the storm lasts only until the next surge arrives. The reef holds both refuge and danger, and the storm brings them closer together. Inside the reef, the storm is measured through pressure, shadow, and the behavior of every neighbor. Beneath the raging Pacific, every creature is connected by the same force moving through the sea. Under the Pacific Superstorm, the reef becomes one living refuge, where every hidden life depends on the sea around it. The Pacific Reef holds its life close, turning every surface into protection beneath the storm. Below the storm, the Pacific Ocean is not broken, it is alive, adjusting with every pulse of the sea. The reef becomes a sanctuary, holding fragile lives against the force above. The smallest fish survive by trusting the narrow architecture of the reef. Inside the reef wall, the sea hides entire lives smaller than a shadow. For the youngest lives in the ocean, survival begins inside the smallest spaces. The seafloor changes with every pulse, hiding and revealing its smallest doors. Predator and prey share the same shelter when the sea becomes stronger than either of them. The storm writes its force through the water, and the reef answers with movement. In the smallest partnerships of the ocean, warning and work become survival. Beneath the coral ledge, different lives share one shelter against the moving sea. Even beneath a superstorm, the ocean hides quiet spaces where life can wait. Some lives survive by moving with the sea, and others survive by becoming almost invisible. The storm brings food through the reef, but every brief meal comes with risk. This hidden world beneath the Pacific storm is built from instinct, shelter, and connection. The octopus reads the storm through the stone, waiting for the sea to loosen its grip. Even in the storm, the reef keeps its ancient balance between patience and escape. Above, the storm still rules the waves. Below, the ocean's hidden life continues to endure. Beneath the Pacific superstorm, the reef survives because every hidden life has found a place within the sea. This is only the first descent beneath the Pacific superstorm. Deeper in the reef, every creature must find its place against the pressure of the sea.
The first descent continues, and the Pacific Ocean reveals that survival beneath a storm is never still.
Deeper inside the Pacific Reef, shelter is not one place, but a whole living structure shaped by the sea. For the smallest fish, the reef becomes a maze designed for survival. Far below the waves, even light from the storm becomes part of the reef's warning system. The storm reaches downward not as wind, but as pressure, current, and moving sand. Every surface of the reef holds smaller lives, waiting for the sea to calm. The sand beneath the storm is never still. It hides and reveals life with every passing current. In the smallest homes of the sea, partnership can become the difference between danger and survival. Every hidden creature has its own answer to the same force moving through the ocean. In this unstable sea, even the smallest home must be repaired against shelter for many different kinds of life. Under the storm, the distance between shelters becomes a challenge measured in heartbeats. The storm pushes food through the reef, and every hidden creature must decide when to risk the open water. The octopus survives by becoming part of the reef while the storm passes above.
The same current that threatens the reef also carries food through its hidden passages.
In the darkness of the reef, the octopus becomes both witness and survivor. Beneath the Pacific storm, no life stands alone. Every creature is tied to the shape of the sea around it. The storm may disturb the water,